Thank you for joining us on the Ultimate Leadership Podcast. Now, here he is, your host, Chris Cebollero.
Well, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it's time for the Ultimate Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Cebollero, and I got to tell you what a great day it is to talk about leadership. I got to tell you, every day is a great day to talk about leadership. You know, it seems that in these days of COVID, we are spending more and more time on Zoom. We are spending more and more time on video. It is proving the concept that this meeting could have been a video, that this meeting could have been an email, right? But now when we start to think about this from a video standpoint, how do we now prepare ourselves to be on video? You know, you got to make sure that you're dressed okay, and you got to make sure you don't have the COVID hair, and you got to make sure you're wearing pants. They're doing pants checks now. We got to make sure that we're wearing pants. But I got to tell you, I brought the guy, and I'm going to check to see if he's wearing pants. I brought the guy, our resident expert when it comes to public speaking. And he's going to give us some tips on how to live in this world of COVID as we now start to do more live video. And he is our resident expert, Fred Miller. Fred, I want to thank you for joining us once again on the Ultimate Leadership Podcast.
Chris, it's a thrill to be here, and it is a different world from the last time we spoke, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I can see that you have the COVID hair. I was just joking. I am not going to check to make sure that you have pants on, but next time we're going to do pants checks.
I was going to have to make the screen go blank. You know, I can't do that. And I didn't have the COVID hair all the time. I cut it a couple times myself, and I think I wore a hat like yours for a week, so I couldn't do it.
Well, but, I don't have hair, so I'm really kind of covering up the fact that I need a haircut. But,
okay.
You know, so Fred, you are a resident expert when it comes to all things public speaking. You've been on the show several times. You've given us great pearls of wisdom. And I know now you're spending a lot more time with your clients and your customers on how to do this virtual training and how to do these virtual meetings. And, you know, before we started, you talked about a survey from your, you know, one of the friends that you have, and it'd be interesting to share that with the listeners.
Well, if you want to communicate with customers and prospects and even family, video is the way. People much rather see your face than hear your voice, or to your point earlier, read an email. But it's a different world. And if you don't mind, let me tell you my story. I was out of the country. March 3rd, we were in South Africa, and we were keeping track of everything. In fact, we had to cut the vacation short. We got home on March 17th. 300 people in an airplane, 16 hours. The world we left is not the world we came back to. Got off in Atlanta, things were shutting down, took our temperature, gave us a piece of paper, and we went home in quarantine. I didn't do anything for about 2-3 weeks, Chris, because I was really bummed out. I mean, it's still bad. But I started getting on some Zoom meetings, and I went, whoa, wait a minute, this is nuts. And I was doing it wrong, but here were some of my observations. And you're a speaker yourself. Usually when you or I are the speaker, we're in front of the audience. We're the only ones looking at everyone else's face. On Zoom, everyone's in the front row and everyone's looking at everyone else. And most of those people, quite frankly, don't have a clue. What happens, as soon as that camera comes on, you look at somebody's face. Well, they may or may not be looking at the camera. I mean, I've looked up more noses than a doctor has, I think. And I've seen people stare and see, I got my lights here. It looks like I'm from another planet. Or they're just looking to the side. That's horrible. Second thing they look at is the background. And the fact is, the best background, kind of like the one I've got here, quite frankly, you don't even notice it. And I see this on television, even professionals, and they'll be trying to sell their book, and their book will be here, and it'll be here, and all kinds of distractions. And the big thing, and we've talked about this before, Chris, we cannot multitask. Because if I'm trying to figure out who you got in that picture, and what's that one, why is he reading that book, I'm not paying attention to you. And nonverbal communication surpasses verbal. And the third thing I've noticed, first of all, they got to see you. They got to have some good light. Some people are doing the dark. They got a light behind them. The third thing is sound. A lot of people have their older laptop computers. They got a little bitty speaker. It sounds like they're in a tunnel. And we will watch bad video. We will not listen to bad sound. We won't listen to bad audio. So I advise people, invest in a good microphone. I've got a lavalier mic on. You've got a professional mic there. It is huge. And then there's some other things too. But have those been your observations also, Chris?
It's funny that you say that. I mean, because one of the things that we think about is, as we're paying attention to these, videos now, I really kind of start to think about, what am I supposed to be watching? Am I supposed to be looking at the speaker? Am I supposed to be taking notes, since it's a virtual meeting or you're dealing with a client or customer? And I find myself now trying to figure out where to put my eyes, where to keep my hands. Am I supposed to be doing this with my hands? Am I supposed to be keeping my hands down? I mean, it's not, as a public speaker,
Oh yeah,
you want to be dynamic.
Yeah. No, yeah. You're right.
So we want to be dynamic. We want to be energetic. We want to be the visual aid. You and I talk about that all the time, that we're the visual aid. So I find the concept of, what am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to put my hands? Where am I supposed to be looking? And maybe he give us some insight on that, Fred.
Well, if I back up, and you made a good point there, you can see my hands. This isn't bad. But a lot of times, and luckily I have this lavalier mic, because the sound would be getting pretty terrible if I had an older laptop. Now, usually I keep it about this close, and I've been working on sliding. I don't have anything perfected here. I'm still trying to learn. But one thing I've found out is that when you bring in a bunch of people in a meeting, either you or you tell them to blank their camera, stop the video. Otherwise, everybody's, oh, where's Chris? Oh, who's that? I don't know. And we're all distracted. And we've talked about this before, but it's important to mention is that we cannot multitask. And the best example I can give is if you're watching cable news, any of the channels, Fox, CNN, any of them, a little ticker tape comes along the bottom of that. Yeah. And if you're reading that ticker tape, you have no idea what they're talking about. And to prove it, as soon as the commercial comes on, the ticker tape is gone. Advertisers would never pay. And why they keep doing it blows my mind. But I've seen so many professionals on TV, and I know you have too, terrible lighting, terrible sound, people from the national networks. Right. And I'm just amazed. I think virtual background, I'm not telling everyone to invest like I did. I've got a green screen here and I can change the backgrounds, but this is something I'm doing. I'm trying to make some videos. But if you're going to do it, I think it's worthwhile. Lighting is extremely important, and the way you look, and the same thing, no wild shirts. This is my COVID shirt. If you look at my videos, I'm always wearing black, or my branding maybe, but you want to be consistent. You want to be consistent. Right. And I think that's important.
You are the Johnny Cash of public speaking. I will say that to you. Everybody knows Johnny Cash did Dress in Black, and he'd get guff for it all the time.
Black, man in black.
So I think you bring up a lot of good points. I mean, because you talk about green screen, you talk about level R mics, you talk about all these lightings and different things. So I think now, what's the balance here, Fred? So when we start to think about it from a presentation standpoint, because I've been doing a lot more public speaking via Zoom and, the virtual the virtual mode, more than just being in person. We're not doing that. I had almost 100 events planned for this year where I was supposed to be speaking. And now I've got about 60 events that I've wind up doing virtually, as we kind of change that paradigm. So as a professional speaker, do we now need to think about taking our video to the professional level and making sure that we have good lights, making sure that we have green screen? I couldn't even tell you how to use a green screen background, but I mean, what's the best practice here?
Yeah, I think you have to do that. And you made an excellent point. Video. I've been watching a lot of videos, and one of the best ones I saw, the guy had pre-recorded his presentation. He pre-recorded and did a lot of editing, and then he came in at the end, and he said it was pre-recorded, but he would stop it and answer questions live, start the video again, because doing this thing live for the first time, even if you practice, it is really, really tough. And it might be better to pre-record it, which also means if you get a good recording and you've edited it correctly for sound and everything else you need, and you can insert some things, you can reuse it. But to do it live and have things happen, I mean, one of the things, I've even got a checklist. And I would advise everyone, email me, Fred at No Sweat Public Speaking. I'll send you my virtual video email checklist. And there's some things that you just got to do. Number one, turn off your VPN. A VPN is a virtual personal network. It's great for security, but it'll slow your speed down so the sound and video starts going flaky. The other thing you want to have is a let's see, you want to have the VPN. Oh, the latest edition of Zoom or whatever the software you're using. And they're
Yeah.
constantly updating it. And then you want to test your microphone and you want to test the video.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. In the as a backup, if you want to try to go live, which a lot of people, I've got a event coming up that's scheduled for August 24th or 27th, and they want me to record it, and they want me to record it for the purposes of when you're live. Sometimes you don't give the best show. And so what is that going to look like now, right? And now I've got to start to think about how am I going to do this show live? And even more importantly, where do I do it? What's the backdrop supposed to look like? Am I supposed to be in front of a board? Am I supposed to be in front of a screen for PowerPoint? I mean, so now I've got to go through this. So this is a really very timely podcast with you, Fred. So, but when you talk about this green screen, can you talk me through this process of how I go about doing that for my presentation?
Whoa.
Oh, hang on a second. That's a little bit too psychedelic there for me. And
wait a minute. I'm on the other side, Chris. I don't see your name here.
That's right.
I'm in the fourth quarter. I may be in the end zone. You've got a few years to make sure you get up here. But no, it's very distracting. And it's a little thing, but background is super important. And you don't want to have something that's distracting. Actually, if you watch TV, they have a background. Say the guy's in a different city, it's blurred. The pros will have it blurred. Otherwise, you're trying to pick stuff out of it, and Zoom makes it really good. But to answer your question directly, and let me get a background how about that for a microphone? Mm-hmm. So a green screen, and you couldn't get them. You as soon as this thing broke loose with COVID, you couldn't get a microphone, you couldn't get a green screen, and you couldn't get lighting. Well, they're all available now. And I've got a green screen, and I got a lot of lights on it. I've got 3 lights on either side. I've got one of these halo lights, but that's important if you want to make some videos. And you don't have to go through all this expense. I've got a room where my computer is not over I can't open a window and get that light. But you want to study this stuff, and thank God there's a lot of people doing videos on this to make it look better.
Fred, it also looks like you're standing rather than sitting. I mean, here I am. I'm sitting behind my desk at the office. And so, I mean, is there a thought about that? I mean, how are we now going to deliver that presentation? Is it similar to that of standing up in front of the room, in front of your folks? Or am I supposed to be?
I've got a standing desk.
Okay.
And I love it. I'm kind of a stand-up guy. I want to do a little stand-up.
About that. Very, very good little joke there, Fred.
But the fact is, I had a great desk, but I'd had back surgery, and I got to the point I couldn't stand up. And I did a lot of studying, and I destroyed that desk, put in a standing desk. But they always say we think better on our feet. So this works for me. And I don't do it for hours and hours, but that's interesting. You should catch that. I think I feel better standing, and it's easier to do it this way. Yeah. But everybody's got to do their own thing.
Yeah, so when you think about that for the appropriate, I guess the best practice for your presentation, do you have a feel for that? I mean, does it make a difference if you're standing or sitting?
Well, for me it does, because if I'm sitting, I might be rocking. I don't know. I'm just used to standing. I've had this standing desk for a long time, and you've seen the ads for these versatile desks, but it's better for your health. And I think, sitting's not good for us. Well, you know medical stuff. It's not a good thing to be sitting. Yeah.
One of the things that's funny, I was talking about last night with someone was that I used to have a boss that, had a standing desk, and he would walk on his treadmill 1 mile per hour the whole day.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I don't have that, but it does make a difference. But you have to find something that works for you. And I think background, again, something plain and simple. The way you look, the lighting, because people, they've got to pay attention, and they've got to watch. You caught the fact that I was standing up, and anything that distracts from your presentation, they're not going to be able to get it. We can't.
Hey, Fred, let me ask you, I want to go back to this green screen thing. So when you have all these backgrounds, does this come with the Zoom, or do you have to buy a package?
Well, Zoom comes with some, and then I've added some, and you got to play around with it. And my office kind of looks a mess, but I'm able to turn it off. But and I actually have a better camera ordered. I hope I found that out too. Some of the cameras don't work with it, but I think. What's your opinion? Does this look good? Does this make some sense?
No, I think it looks good. I think it looks pretty awesome. So when you start to think about this from the standpoint of buying the microphones and buying the lights and buying the cameras, how do you now go through the process of trying to set those things? I mean, I'm not that, great when it comes to computer literacy. And now I've got to worry about HDMIs and cameras and lights. And, you're talking about, you got one up here, you got two down here. I mean, how do you figure that out?
Watch a lot of videos. Watch a lot of videos. Buy most of the stuff on Amazon and read the reviews, and just, you hit and miss. But, some of the stuff you don't want to have to buy it twice. Sometimes it comes down to availability. I'm waiting for a new camera now. It's going to be available on August 9th. And actually I said, well, can I prepay for it? Because I was afraid that they'll send me a notice, say it's available. Oops, you're number 2,000 in line. There's a bunch of people ahead of you. So you want to find out what's going to work. And so you've got a nice microphone there, but this lavalier mic, which costs a fraction less. Yeah, it's the Yeti, right?
Yep.
I think, Yeti. They make coolers too. Maybe it's a different company. and those things you carry your drinks in. But right. No, it makes a big difference. People will watch bad video. They won't listen to bad audio. Awesome. And what I've done with my blog posts, and I think you have too, you wind up, you turn them into podcasts. And actually, you can take that audio, and there's software that will transcribe it. So you wind up getting your written post, your audio post, and the transcript below it. And that's three things that Google can find. And also makes you a better writer and a better speaker.
You're absolutely right. I do have that New York accent, though. So anytime I use those transcription software, it puts in a lot of use guys and a lot of attitude. It's got a lot of attitude, Fred. It catches the attitude.
Yeah,
but
I like
so Fred, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing this knowledge, because as we now start to get into this virtual world, we really got to pay attention to those things. But let's not gloss over the importance of who you are to this show, because again, you are our resident expert in all things public speaking. You do more public speaking. You do more public speaking training. You're teaching at the college level. So I just want to go ahead and talk about some of the resources that you have for the people who are out there, because as you now start to think about it from your no sweat public speaking brand, your no sweat elevator speeches, just kind of talk a little bit about some of the resources you have on your website, and give the listeners a place where they can go to get your free resources, because you are very generous with your resource tools.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Chris. Go to nosweatpublicspeaking.com, and you'll see, if you go to the blog post on the right-hand side, there's all kinds of free templates. You can get a speaker's template. You can get an elevator speech template. And I advise everyone to get one, because with all these virtual meetings, it's still the same thing. Before we get started, let's go around all the screens, tell us who you are and what you do. And if you have a fear of public speaking, I've got a template for that too. And all that's available, no charge at all.
Fred Miller, it's always great to talk to you. You are one of my favorite guests. Again, the Johnny Cash of the Ultimate Leadership. That's right, we did. And, we had lunch one time, and we need to go. We live in the same city, but we never see each other. But everybody out there, Fred gave us some good tips and things that we're not thinking about. And if we want to be able to be someone who is considering, being the resource to people and being the expert in how we're doing things, we've got to be able to change with the times. Is this the way things are going to be forever? We don't know. But this is the way they are right now. So we got to think about the best product. We've got to think about how we're getting our message out. And Fred gave us some great tips. Fred Miller, if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Fred.
Go ahead and say it again, Fred. I think you cut out a little bit.
At nosweatpublicspeaking.com.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you here. Everybody out there, I want to thank you for joining us once again on the Ultimate Leadership Podcast, and I look forward to chatting with everyone again real soon. Until then, I'm Chris Cebollero.
The Ultimate Leadership Podcast is a production of chriscebollero.com. You can interact with us by email at ultimateleadership16@gmail.com. All rights reserved.